Okay, franchise of the week is Ace Handyman Services. History. So they started in 1998 under the name Handyman Matters, and they started franchising in 2001. And in 2019 was acquired by Ace Services, changed the name to Ace Handyman Services. So they're owned by, obviously Ace Hardware. The franchisor is owned by, Ace Hardware, or their parent company, Ace Services. By the way, that was my first job. I worked at Ace Hardware from the ages of 14 to 18, all throughout high school. And that Ace Hardware is actually not a franchise. I actually got that wrong on one of our webinars. They are a co-op. I recently learned that. They're a co-op, not a franchise, which like blew my mind. But yeah, we had a guy that was like a retired fire chief, and he owned it with his wife. And I'll tell you what, it was amazing. It was just really cool working there over those 4 years. I wrestled, and so I'd have to, I would stop working for 5 months during wrestling season. They would always let me come back. It was just cool. Nothing like working for a family business. Anyways, they have 12 corporate-owned territories, which is a great sign. I mean, when you see that a brand has that many corporate territories, number one, it shows you that they really not only believe in obviously what they're doing, but number two is that, they have firsthand accounts of what's working, what's not working, getting feedback, and the challenges of running the business, which, as you can imagine, provides a special and unique perspective that will benefit the franchisees ultimately. But there are a whopping 367 franchise units, ladies and gentlemen. So this is one of those opportunities where there's not going to be a lot of territories left of this specific opportunity, especially in popular markets. But there will be some. And so the franchise fee, $70,000. Royalty is 6%. National marketing fee, 2%. The startup costs range between $131,000 to $220,000. Franchise term is 10 years. By the way, if you do want to see, if you're like, hey, I'm actually kind of interested in this Ace Handyman thing, and you want to know if your territory just so happens to still be available, go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. And when you submit your info, you, of course, will put in, when we ask you, hey, are you wanting to know about any specific brand, you will put in Ace Handyman. Or a lot of times what happens is people are like, hey, I'm just interested in like knowing what's available in my area and kind of having a conversation on what will fit. And they'll just put like NA or leave it blank. If that's the case, great. You can still go there, and our team will get the ball rolling for you. But Ace Handyman, they provide handyman and repair, maintenance, and sales to residential and commercial customers. These can include basic services like carpentry, plumbing, electrical, drywall, painting, flooring, all those different things, right? And you will use W-2 full-time employees versus subcontractors. Again, I just got to learn all of the ins and outs of this business because of that podcast episode. It is really interesting, and using W-2 full-time employees, although it can be more expensive in the short term, definitely has some major benefits. Because think about it. When you hire a handyman or go to hire a handyman, it's like a very fragmented space. All sorts of mom and pops, no consistency in kind of service delivery, etc. So it's a good opportunity. It levels up the handyman, just services overall. Okay, let's talk numbers, y'all. So we're looking at the left-hand column here, and I still have to download an app that creates a marker so I can more distinctly point out what I'm looking at. We're looking at the average here on the left-hand side. The average revenue for the single reporting territories. So this is for a single territory. Average revenue is about just over $500,000. They detail what all of the cost of goods sold are, and as well as labor costs, and that brings you to your gross profit of $224,000. at a 37% gross profit. Keep in mind, gross profit is not profit. It's not like net profit or the term EBITDA, which means earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, basically profit. There are still expenses that occur after gross profit. This could be things like, hey, if you have an office that you rent out, and some other, if you have administrative costs and some things like that. But it gives you a pretty good idea of kind of what the potential is overall. Even so, like one of the key things that we'll look at when we're looking at opportunities to see if they make sense is the investment to sales ratio. So, I mean, you're talking about, let's just call it, what's 220 plus 130? That's what, 350 divided by 2. So that's 175. So let's just call 175 rounded up to 200. So you're talking about a more than 2 to 1. That would be, what's 500 divided by 200? 2.5 to 1 sales to investment ratio. Actually, so we typically, okay, so let's use the 175 number. 500 divided by 175. So we're right about there, because we typically, I mean, to really like see kind of like to give yourself the real solid chance, you want to be around a 3 to 1 sales to investment ratio. It's at 2.85. So that's within the range. 2.85 is close enough in terms of average sales to investment ratio. What's interesting is, okay, and I'm sorry, by the way, this is single territories that have been operating only between 1 and 3 years. Okay, here you're about to see something very interesting. Between 1 and 3 years is 500,000 in sales on average, and if they've operated more than 3 years, the average sales are lower. There's also not as many reporting territories in there. But part of the reason I would imagine is there's probably a lot of like what's called legacy owners that are kind of doing a lot of their work, and they're not focused on building like a scalable business. So you see it happen sometimes in franchisors that have been around a long time. Like some of the older franchisors actually don't perform as well as the newer ones. What are some of the benefits? Integrated relationship with Ace Hardware. You can market inside local Ace Hardware stores, is what this is supposed to say, not handyman stores, and have direct access to the Ace Reward members' customers. That is huge. That is massive. You also have an office manager, a streamlined process, right? You'll hire an office manager who takes calls. All work is booked over the phone by the hour, so no estimating is needed. Craftsmen that's your team who's actually doing the work, are dispatched from their home to the customer's home and bills the customer at the end of the project. No construction experience is needed. Almost all of the franchisees came from corporate America and backgrounds like project management, IT, marketing, engineering, logistics, manufacturing, etc. So as you can imagine, this is a very operationally driven business, especially if, I mean, geez, you're getting teed up here. But to have access to Ace Hardware stores and their reward customers, I mean, yeah, you're getting teed up there in terms of, it's like, what's the phrase? It's like shooting fish in a barrel in terms of driving leads and having opportunities. Strong recruiting and onboarding. So the craftsmen and craftswomen that you hire are the most important piece of the business. Ace will actually help you with the recruiting, interviewing, training, and onboarding, so you have consistency, which is pretty cool. Repeat customers. As your business is more established, you'll start to have more repeat customers, and they'll become a larger part of your revenue. Yeah, I believe when I did the podcast, they told me what percentage of their business came from repeat customers. And no, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to go watch or listen to the podcast when it comes out on Sunday if you want to know the answer. Nights and weekends, free. So all business is Monday through Friday, right? This is key. Something that I did not think of when we bought our first franchise, which was that I bought a franchise that was open 363 days a year, only closed on Thanksgiving and Christmas. There's no weekends, which is pretty cool. It doesn't mean you're not actually working, doing some sort of work on your business on the weekend, but you guys are not actually fulfilling on jobs with customers. So again, if you guys want to see if this franchise is available in your area, or just find out what franchises are available in your area, you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory.